Oh, I am thee, a bonny wee gamer, full of lust for your blood, only a bit tamer. I do nae fighting on my toad, I band together with my squad. Under their banner, together we fight, every Monday and Friday night. We laugh, we cry, we blow tanks sky high. But it doesn't mean nothing without me brethren. Aye, we're a clan, it has to be said, a bond of blood and breaking bread. From new beginnings to their bitter end, a friend's shoulder will always be lent. Clan is a word of ancient ways, which we continue on in present days.
You've got like public players, people that jump in, play the game, play with their mates, play on their own, and then you've got like the competitive community. You know, your clans, your groups of players that take it very seriously. Now, how do you feel both kind of types of player group have helped shape the game?
Have you ever wondered what it's like to play in a real clan match? I guess it's kind of like a normal match, except everyone knows what they're doing. So you get an almost serene-like quality.
What? How did I become a level 4 officer before anything else? It's ridiculous.
And then as you get closer in, things start to spice up a bit.
Yeah, our OP is like very hot.
No!
Do you guys need help on your position?
And before you know it, you're playing that same old game of Hell Let Loose. And the only difference is, you probably die a lot more.
What?
Okay.
In the field.
Push, 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 push.
And the reason I bring this up is, a big point is made about the difference between competitive and public matches. But the thing is, we're still playing the same fucking game. The main difference is, we use all the tools that they provide, which is namely artillery. Yeah, that artillery's right on. Oh my god, 3 arties in a row.
Do we move up to the defense mod?
I can't even get in the cap, I'm just getting killed by arty. Hey guys, welcome back to Wild Bill Jamming. I hope you're well. Today I want to talk about why it's important that clans' voices are heard by the developers, and why the developers are heard by the clans.
The community are the heart of Hell Let Loose.
Because we all have our own ideas about how this game works or should work, and when you're watching the dev briefs, if you're that way inclined like I am, you sit there watching it in a certain way and expecting them to talk about one thing, but they keep talking about another thing, which kind of looks like this.
You know, you have, so you can now hold and carry your supply crate around. There's a lot of content. Yeah, it's really fun. It feels good. You can now hold and carry your supply crate around. You've got wrenches.
That's a cool thing though, the carrying supply crates around.
Now you've got hammers, you've got wrenches, so you can now hold and carry your supply crate around.
Making computer games is a really weird thing. It's not like anything else ever. And I learnt this the hard way at the start of lockdown when I saw that I was going to have a lot of time on my hands. I started doing a course on video game making, which is what you're looking at now. This is called Wingworm. The idea was to have a little worm fella that can glide around and do stuff, and that's about as far as I got with it. Because coming up with the name Wingworm and the kind of look and feel of it was one thing, but when it came to actually balancing how it flew or glided, I didn't want it to be able to fly, I wanted it to glide. It became a really tricky thing, because once you determine how far it can glide, you have to put all these barriers in place, and you have to model the whole game around that certain aspect. There's no normal creative process for it. And I think it's a really hard thing to get your head around. Once you've got the base down, the rest of the development is balancing. Well, it is for an idiot like me. Because when I was watching the dev brief, I was just thinking the whole time, why aren't they answering questions about how they're going to balance the game in terms of defense versus attack? Because it's way too easy to defend at the minute, and it gets quite grindy. All they're talking about is this new stuff, new content. And it didn't dawn on me until I started making this video that all the new content is addressing those balance issues and just blowing them out of the water completely.
If you focus on the problem, you can't see the solution. Never focus on the problem, look at me.
And that's why Black Matter and Team 17, that's why they're game developers, and that's why I have a not even half-finished game about a worm that can kind of fly. And I think the most important thing to come out of the dev briefing was this.
We're not building the engine of the plane as we fly it anymore. The engine's built and we'll do maintenance on the engine, but we're now flying. And we're now picking the fabric on the seats as opposed to, again, like trying to do everything that you should have done before you release a game while the game is already released.
Because we've all seen what happened with Battlefield 5 and all the chat about the Frostbite engine. And if the developers are fighting against this really boring stuff, it means they can't focus on the fun stuff and the actual balancing of the game. So this update 8, it's going to change quite a lot of things, maybe for better, maybe for worse. But the thing is, they're going to be able to make any changes and tweaks pretty quickly, hopefully, now that they've sorted the engine out. And a lot of these changes are geared towards more defense, which I find a little bit scary. And here's a little microcosm of why defense is a bit boring.
Oh, he's covering, he's behind the red thing.
Yeah, I see.
On my butt.
The red wings to the left. All the red wings. Yeah, he's between the red wings and the wall. Ah, yeah, that should do it. Nice. That's so poor red.
So I think the community should be really useful for pointing out problems, but not necessarily the solutions. Especially when the game is in early access and the developers have got so much more planned for it that we didn't even realise. If we take, for example, ninja garrisons, which was a thing that came from the community. This is back when you could build garrisons in enemy territory. And a lot of people didn't like that you could just mass deploy a whole team behind enemy lines and capture a point. And the solution we got was to stop building garrisons in enemy territory. But now it's way too difficult to attack, and you get very stale gameplay. And the solution for the solution was airheads, but they haven't really worked in the way that we'd all hope it, because you only get a couple of them a game maybe, and they drop out the fucking sky, so everyone can see it coming. But then maybe the problem is actually mass redeployment in itself, because it's still too easy to defend. Now, they don't really do that in public games, and that's why it's different in clan games. But it won't be long until the newer players start catching on to that idea, because the ones who have been playing for the longest are screaming at them in the microphone to do that. And there's an old saying in cricket, which is, you don't set fields to bad balls. And what I mean by that is, we shouldn't really be balancing the game around people that don't understand it.
Never listen to the infantry, just hear to my voice. Go full speed towards my ping. If you hear to the infantry, we die. That's a proven fact. Just keep going full speed, run them over.
Because no one understands what's going on when you start any new game. Clans in Hell Let Loose are just people that absolutely love the game, and they play it a whole lot. And everyone plays the game the way that it's been built. There's no cheesing of any systems or anything. It's just played with a higher level of understanding than you would normally get in a public match.
But of course, I am telling you guys, if you listen to infantry, you will just end up dying.
And there's only one thing that really annoyed me about the dev brief, in that they said you can play it in however you want to play it. And it's kind of not true. There's some things in Hell Let Loose that you just need to do. And it's what I bang on about in every single video and trying to drum into everyone's head. You need those garrisons, you need those nodes, otherwise you're just going to get trampled over. That's why you see a lot of clan members not playing in public games anymore, because the public just don't do the stuff, either because they don't understand it, or they just can't be bothered, which is completely understandable. So weirdly, the problem of balance is more about understanding, but clans have already reached that point, and we're looking for something more. And when clans talk about the game, they're not really talking about the competitive side. That's a bonus. They're talking about the overlapping problems in competitive and public play. But the great thing is, the development team are pretty good. You haven't got some exec in a suit like at EA who would typically have this kind of feedback for clans.
I mean, I know this is what they think people like me think, so I hate thinking it, but I just find myself thinking they're from a different fucking species. Why do they wear clothes with writing on them? And why are they so fucking fat? I know, and stupid.
So when idiots like me take the piss out of the simple thing like, now you can carry your supply crate, it's dumb of me to say things like that, because simple little game designery things like that can actually really help new players and really improve the gameplay in public games. And that's the thing that we forget as people who have played the game a lot. It's not obvious that a wrench is there to build supplies. So now you might get new players dropping supplies everywhere because it's easy to do. So thanks for sticking with me through this very talky video. When it comes to development and all that stuff, there's a lot to think about, and there's a lot that we don't give the developers credit for. So hopefully Update 8 is going to go beyond our imaginations and come up with some really cool stuff. And hopefully it comes soon. And also, no more redeploying. I'll see you next Wednesday.